Hello, everybody. This is Tom Speciale. We're getting ready to start the 8 o'clock Governor's Candidate Forum with Chasing Freedom, Virginia. And I'm getting ready. I'm pushing stuff out on Facebook, but we'll start here shortly. Okay, I think we've got Amanda, we've got Sergio, Merle, and Kurt. Everybody is on, and we are live on Facebook, going out to YouTube. So you guys can turn on your cameras, please. Somebody sounds like they're driving. I think that's Amanda.
Mute myself. We're actually on the road and it's pouring down rain. So
Awesome. I tried that during my campaign and it didn't work out for me. So I'm wishing you good luck. Okay, so let me kick this thing off real quick. You all know who I am, and I've got Bob Jones on and Chris Cloud as well. They're going to turn their cameras on real quick and introduce themselves. Chris, go ahead.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's an honor, and thank you for your participation here. I am Chris Cloud. I am the events chair for Chasing Freedom, among other hats that my wife and I wear. And I just wanted to take a very brief shout out and remind people that our next bonfire potluck is the 27th of this month, Saturday. And text me, reach out to me in any way, and I'll forward you the information on that. It's always a blast, and there's usually between 50 and 150 patriots there. Good audience. Many of you have attended, and we certainly appreciate that and look forward to your future attendance. Thank you.
And go ahead, Bob.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. It's my honor to be here also as well. I am the chair for the First Amendment and Free Speech Committee, and I look forward to seeing you all at the bonfire, hopefully.
Angelia, I know you're on here as well. Why don't you do a quick introduction as well?
Hi, I'm Angelia Smiley. I'm the Health Coalition Chair for Chasing Freedom, Virginia. And I'm at bonfires also. It's a great place to network and get to know other patriots. Getting together with like-minded individuals is always a great time.
Thank you, guys. Okay, so again, I want to thank you all for participating in this. We've had 2 great forums. This was something I don't think it's ever been done before. You know, there is a benefit that comes out of this. If there's any benefits that come out of this COVID-19 thing, we've all become very savvy on how to do these video things, which I hate, but they seem to work when we're all scattered around the state. So there's a blessing in that. What we're going to be doing today is this forum. It's approximately 90 minutes. And we're going to have an opening statement. That's going to be 4 minutes, Chris. Chris is going to be our timekeeper. Questions are going to be approximate. Let's go with 3 minutes. If I cut them to 2 minutes towards the end, we may have to. But we're going to go with 3 minutes. If you mention another candidate in your comments, that candidate gets 2 minutes to respond. We're going to do a lightning round. It's 2 very quick questions. About 15 seconds to answer, and we'll go through the rotation on that, and then closing statements about 3 minutes. As you know, I'm the chair for Chasing Freedom Virginia, an organization we started to basically break down the barriers for grassroots candidates to get their message out, because we felt that there were great candidates running, but it was impossible for them to be heard because they could very easily be drowned out by a lot of money. And we don't think we should necessarily be voting for the richest candidate or the most influential candidate, but the best candidate that can win, the candidate that can win in November. We are building a coalition of conservative coalitions all across Virginia. We're up to about 20 right now. This originally started as a concept of the Virginia 300, and I want to grow this to 300 coalition organizations all across Virginia over the next couple of years. To just put this out there, because I know a lot of people won't, they won't get past the first 20 minutes or so, unfortunately, because people's attention span is very short. But we are doing 3 in-person events coming up very shortly. April 10th, we're doing a Veterans Coalition rally in Woodbridge. On April 24th, we're doing a Faith, Family, and Life Coalition meeting in Richmond with Family Foundation. And that's also the day that we vote for our endorsement with our members. And then we're doing a Second Amendment Coalition rally in Appomattox, Virginia on the 1st of May. And you guys will all see that in our emails, but I want to put it out for the audience. If you like what we're doing with the website and getting the message out on the candidates, please donate on our website. It'll allow us to boost these forums all across the state and get more information out about these very impressive candidates. So, all right. It's important to understand that what we're talking about, this forum, is not about winning the nomination. We are curious what you bring to the fight in November, because we're going to endorse the candidate that has the best chance to actually win in November, regardless of how much money they have, how much experience they have. We don't care about that. We care about who can win in November. So keep in mind that when you're talking to us today, answering our questions, this is about being victorious in November. The nomination, billionaires can buy nominations, but they're not. That doesn't mean they're going to be able to win in November. So that being the case, go ahead. We're going to do a 4-minute introduction, and my rotation is going to start. We're going to go in the order that people signed in, and that will be Kurt, then Merle, then Sergio, then Amanda. So Kurt, 4 minutes. Please introduce yourself and tell us why you're running for governor of Virginia. Do it again, because I think I muted you while you were there. You go.
Hello, my name is Kurt Santini. I'm running for governor because, frankly, I took an oath to the Constitution to protect it, to defend it against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I'm seeing the Constitution being walked all over by our legislators left and right, both in state and federal. And I feel that we can fix a lot of these problems on the state level. We don't need to make a bunch of changes federally. We just need to make a bunch of federal laws obsolete. Just because the laws were created, don't make them constitutional. I'm a regular guy. I'm been a disabled veteran for 20 years. I received a life-changing surgery a couple of years ago that literally put me back on my feet. And I've always wanted to serve or defend in some form or fashion, whether it was standing up for the kids being bullied in school, to being a volunteer firefighter, to helping my neighbors, volunteering at my son's school as a wrestling coach, to serving my country. I think all of those things combined kind of give you the character of somebody that just wants to give. And if you're going to be selfish about something in life, I think I'm being selfish in a good way. And that is that how it makes me feel to help somebody is far more valuable than any money that they could ever offer me. And seeing the look on their face, like going down to Charlotte County after the ice storms hit and people were out of power for over a week, 2 weeks in some cases, handing out food and water, a bar of chocolate to a kid that's just smiling while the parent in the front seat of the car is crying, not because she can't provide, but because she knows that there's somebody out there that actually cares and wants to help the best way they can. And I volunteer my time with the militias, different militias across the state, not just one, not just two, but 5 different militias. I volunteered my time from helping with rifle qualifications, zero training, to cold weather survival, fire starting, shelter building, very basic survival skills that anybody might need to have if your power goes out in your house and you've got sub-zero temperatures. You need to know how to survive in your own house because you can still freeze to death. Helping people get their unemployment after months and months and months of roadblocks because of coronavirus shutdowns. Helping, it's just, win or lose, that has been the greatest part of campaigning across this state. Meeting the great people of Virginia, the benefit that I've received from what little financial money I put out to help these people in a way. And I think we can take that to leadership level in our government. As governor, there's a lot that we can do to make changes, to bring back the Constitution, to get rid of unconstitutional laws, and to find loopholes for all the loopholes that have been found or that are being used. So thank you for having me on the show. My 4 minutes is up. I look forward to answering more questions.
You're up, Merle.
Hello, my name is Merle Rutledge, and I am running for the Republican nomination for governor of Virginia. More than ever at this time period, we need a governor with street smarts as well as book smarts. Somebody who doesn't make knee-jerk reactions and cost us all of our constitutional rights. We have seen that last year and it's been happening inch by inch over the last couple of decades. I understand Republicans and conservatives and more. Y'all tired of seeing the same old come to Richmond and then basically do nothing. You need somebody who's going to be committed to action. Somebody who isn't going to be swayed by the swamp or the lobbyists. Somebody who looks after the people and the businesses more than they look after their own wallet. I know you have been disappointed so many times by sending the wrong people to do the wrong job. That's why you just need to send no longer business as usual Republican who believes in people over party and won't quit on you like the rest have. How far are we going to take this bus over the cliff? Look at it. We are fighting for ammunition, people, not just our guns. That's how far the buttery Democrats has went in trying to take over Virginia and sell it out to China. I guarantee you this. The mess that the liberals have made up there in Richmond, I'm going to clean it up, and I ain't going to apologize for it. You can ask anybody that you want to. There's only one Republican who can get this job done and take somebody who knows both sides of the railroad tracks, ready to get uncomfortable where the other politicians are too busy being comfortable. I'm not here to have a red carpet rolled out for me. I'm going to earn your vote and not be entitled to it, and I'm not going to buy your vote, because if I could buy your vote, then anybody else could sell me out there in Richmond. So I'm looking after you, the people, first, America first, not immigrants. Thank you for your time. Let's get this on.
Thank you, Merle and Sergio.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here with you tonight, Tom. Good to see Kurt. Good to see Merle, Amanda. I'm running for governor of Virginia for a very simple reason. I want to protect the American dream. The American dream began in Virginia because Virginia is the cradle of the American experiment that created it. There's nothing anywhere in the world like it. There's no Chinese dream. There's no Russian dream. There's no French dream. There's no Mexican dream. There's only the American dream. And there's a reason for it, because it was created here in the Commonwealth. This is the cradle of where it all began. And we're seeing that our General Assembly and governor are putting in place the seeds of destruction of that American dream. They're putting in place all the socialist policies that you're now seeing implemented nationwide. Virginia's become the test bed of all sorts of bad ideas. And we can't tolerate that. We can't have that. We're going to have to change that. And it is critical that we do. And what I mean about the American dream is a little, you've heard my biography. I came from Mexico. I was raised in a house with dirt floors and no running water, picking cotton at 10, 20 different jobs before I joined the Army. I went to Airborne and Ranger School before I started in the Army, which gave me the foundation for leadership that I would later put into effect the time I was in the Army. I fought socialists and communists the entire time I was in the Army, and I continue to do so even to this day. Because what we've seen is that they've gone from bullets to ballots, and now even more sophisticated with the way the Chinese are encroaching in all aspects of American society. And so all of that is at play nationwide, and Virginia is a window to the rest of the country. And this coming year, we're going to see a referendum on President Biden's failures as a national leader, and we're going to see the vindication of President Trump. After 30 years in the Army, I retired as a colonel. I had a lot of opportunities to learn what it is to be a soldier all the way up to being a colonel. And that was a blessing for me, because after that, in 2016, when others were standing on the sidelines, I joined the Trump campaign and helped him win over the Hispanic vote. He won 29%. That's a phenomenal number. After that, 2 weeks later, I was invited to go into the Pentagon, where I was part of the transition team selected by President Trump. And I served as his Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for International Affairs. And that served me very well in having a better understanding of international dynamics and how everything fits together. And when I was done, we had the best alignment of countries in this hemisphere that we'd had in the history of the United States. So what makes me different from everybody else is that I can win in Northern Virginia, and we're going to need Northern Virginia. That's the only way we're going to be able to take back the power in Richmond. And so the reason is because I am that immigrant, and I am that immigrant, not just the people that do basic lower level work, but I can also relate to those that are here in high level capacities within the immigrant community. Most of the people that are here are concerned about what's happening to our country, because many of these immigrants came from communist regimes, and they know what it is to live under that type of system that we know is going to be a complete failure. I saw it in Venezuela, and I've seen it throughout different parts of the world, and it's coming to us. And there's nothing that says that we won't see that happen here in Virginia. So in addition to winning in Northern Virginia, I can win the Southern, Eastern, and Western, because I also have the ability to relate to anybody who's ever done work from the bottom up. As I said, I've been a cotton picker, I've been a truck driver, I've been a welder, I've been a driller, I've been a hay hauler. So anyway, thank you very much. That's my rationale for running. Thank you.
And Amanda.
Good evening, everyone. This is Virginia State Senator Amanda Chase. Listen, friends, I'm so thankful for every person on this phone call. We're all on the same team together, fighting to win this coming November. And, we all bring something different to the table. what I believe I bring is something we've never had before. We've never had a Republican woman to seek the Republican nomination for governor. 50% of the population is women, and that's the demographic we need. We've never had a Republican woman to seek the Republican nomination for governor. We also need suburban women. I am a suburban woman. If we want to win, if we want to try something different, I think it's very important that we go toe to toe. I know how to win against a Terry McAuliffe or a Jennifer Carroll Foy. I've already proven I can win. I've won in the state Senate twice in primaries. In my very first race, I was outspent, out-endorsed, and yet I still won with 40% of the votes. I'm a fighter. People know that about me. I love how Merle talks about, a lot of these politicians that get in there and they forget who they are and they forget the Constitution. Listen, I've been faithful. I've been faithful to our conservative movement. I've been faithful to life. I've been faithful to our Second Amendment rights. I've been faithful to small businesses. I've voted against every single tax increase, every single fee increase Senator Amanda Chase voted against all 6 years that I was in office. I voted to preserve our heritage, our history, our monuments. I voted in favor of our law enforcement. I feel like we should fully fund our law enforcement. Listen, friends, I have a voting record that people trust. I have the most conservative voting record. There's only two folks of the folks that are running that actually have a voting record that people can look at, and I have one that we can all be proud of as a conservative, someone that's stood up for life 100%. Favor of life and against Roe versus Wade. Listen, I'm a fighter, friends. People know me. They've called me Trump in heels. I didn't give myself that name because I have a backbone, and I stood up to Dominion Energy. I've stood up to the Republican Senate caucus leadership when they wanted to be weak. They didn't want to challenge other Democrats that had open seats. When they wanted to introduce bills that compromised on our Second Amendment tax increases, these are Republicans, friends. I am a firebrand Republican that is not compromised on values and issues that are important to us. And look at the flack that I've taken for it. Listen, some people bend and bow under the pressure. They tried to bully me. They tried to shame me because I refused to wear a mask. They built me a plexiglass wall. I don't bend and break. Listen, for standing up for our president and standing up for our elections. I do believe the 2020 presidential election was stolen. I was censured over it. I was censured for standing up for our president and censored for standing up for fair, free elections and exercising our First Amendment free speech rights to peacefully assemble and make our grievances known to our government. And for that, I was censured. My Facebook page, we just got the final word that they're not going to allow me to be on Facebook, on my Senator Amanda Chase page. They don't even, Facebook has censored me. They've censored a lot of those of us who are on this phone call today. We don't live in the America that we grew up in, and I want to change that. Friends, it's going to take someone with a backbone, a titanium
Amanda,
backbone of steel.
Can you see the timer or no?
No, I can't. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine. Can you see me?
You're gonna have to raise your hand.
Okay, I'll give you a signal, but you're out of time for the introduction.
My apologies, but
that's okay. That's okay. We had another candidate that had that on the last call too. So this will be the 2 minute, 1 minute, and then this will be the 30-second warning. That's the hook.
Sounds good.
Okay, so the first question is going to go to Merle, and then it'll be Sergio, and then Amanda and Kurt. So to Merle, first question, and one of the candidates has already hit on this, but I'd like to get a little bit more specific and a little bit more expansive on it. Bruce Wayne says that his secret power is that he's rich. What is it specifically that you believe makes you uniquely able to win in a statewide race in November? What is that secret power to win that's a statewide race as a Republican? Remember, we're not an audience worried about a nomination. We're an audience worrying about being victorious in November. And so, Merle, what is your secret power to be victorious?
My secret power isn't really a secret. I put God first, and that is pretty much universal around Virginia. Thing is, we have too many people legislating fear, and people right now want somebody who is going to fight for them, fight for small business, and not hide from them anytime a controversy or a crisis happens. I'm the only governor's candidate who has been unequivocal about the fact that I would never shut down Virginia. A lot of these problems that we are talking about right now has came from the shutdowns. So I'm the only one who believes in we would have stayed open just like South Dakota. Now, like I said before, it's all about having a governor that has street and book smarts right now. Everybody has seen exactly what Washington and Richmond has become. A cesspool for the Three Stooges and the reptiles that go along with it. See, to me, vote on a name instead of vote on their actions and what people will do before they're elected. Not looking at their voting records after they're elected and saying, wow, I'm so disappointed in the results. If you keep voting for the same thing, you're going to get the same results. How many different ways does Virginia have to say it? They are not caring about what is going on, about how rich somebody is, or their race, or all this other stuff. Right now, they're trying to put food on the table. They're trying to keep a job. They're trying to see how tomorrow is going to be so they have the confidence to tell their children that they are going to have a future that they can believe in. We are tired of seeing Venezuela on the TV saying that's going to be America if we continue in this direction. The fact is we need somebody to make the tough choices and the tough calls that doesn't put party over the people, but makes the best decision for the American people and, of course, for the Virginia citizens. I'm exactly that type of Republican, the one putting backbone, spine, and putting boot to Marxists everywhere and all over across the state. The fact is, all of this has become the indoctrination of Virginia, and I won't stand for it. The number one thing we got to stop talking about is the race issue and whining and crying and moaning about everything else. Some things we have to do for ourselves. That's how we was brought up, American grit, and our parents raised us to know the difference between a man and a woman, but also at the same time frame, they always made sure we knew what it takes to survive even during hard times. This is one of them hard times where you had to make a hard decision. Are you going to vote based off of what somebody looks like, or are you going to go with the car that may not look that good, but it continues to make it to point A to point D, and you don't have to keep bringing that brand new car back to the dealership talking about what continues to be the problem. The problem is the politicians. It ain't us, the private citizens, that is continuing to fight where the politicians has quit. And that's why I plan on being your next Virginia governor, because the major quality I have is God and God's protection and the ability to fight in God's will. Thank you.
Thank you, Merle. And Sergio, 3 minutes.
Thank you, Tom. My magic sauce, as I understand the question, what makes me capable of winning in a general is what I've described previously, and that is I have a broad range of experience. I know what it's like to be at the very bottom. I know what it's like to work your way to the top, and I know everything that's in between, and I've not forgotten every phase of life that I've been through. We are at a crossroads. We are in a very difficult spot. I've seen the world. I understand the big picture. I understand where socialism takes you. I understand where the Chinese Communist Party is wanting to take us now. And I fear for our country because we're losing our basic rights. We're going to have to fight for those, and we're going to have to fight for those intelligently. And the only person that can win in Northern Virginia is me, because I have that knowledge, I have that experience, I can relate to those communities like no one else. I know what it is to be an immigrant. I know what it is to live under government systems that don't provide for their people. I know what it's like for governments not to be able to allow you to have private property or at least restrict that private property. And I've been throughout the world and I've seen from the very bottom all the way to the top what works and what doesn't work. What we're putting in place right now in Virginia does not work. And the first thing that we need to do is we're going to have to focus our attention on how can we fix the electoral system, because we're going to have to be playing by their rules between right now till the time that we have the election. Once we get into office, then we can start implementing a lot of these changes. But until then, we need to make sure that we all work together. Every one of us is running, and bring in fellow Virginians so that they are able to put in place voting officials that are trained, that can be at these polling places and make sure that we have a clean election. That's what that's what it's going to take. And then once we're there, we need to figure out how we can change things around. But to be able to get there, you got to get elected. And Terry McAuliffe is going to play all kinds of tricks because he's been involved in how the elections can be manipulated and has done a fantastic job of doing that. So what I can do is not only can I win with the immigrant communities that are Hispanic, but I can win with the Asians. I can win with African Americans because I understand their plight. And I also understand that we're all Americans. And that's the thing that I think sometimes is lost, because what we're seeing with our current governor and General Assembly is they want to separate us by race. They want to divide us. They want to balkanize us. And we're all Americans. Everybody, if you want to talk about a diverse crowd, just look at who's here on the screen. We're about as diverse as they get. But I think that what identifies us all as one is that we are all Americans. We all believe in the American dream. Thank you very much.
Amanda.
All right, can you restate the question?
No problem. Bruce Wayne says that his secret power is that he's rich. What is it that you believe makes you uniquely able to win a statewide race in November? We're not worried about the nomination. We're worried about winning in the general. What is your secret power to win in a statewide race in Virginia as a Republican?
I'm going to say that I'm well balanced. I have experience in business. My education is in business, but I've also had experience in the legislature. I understand how the legislature works. I can relate to everyday normal people. I'm a mom of 4 kids that are all grown right now. I can relate to parents. You know, as I'm traveling across the state of Virginia, like many of you all are, as I've been traveling, one of the things that people say the most is, you know, wow, you're so relatable. You don't seem like a politician. You're like my neighbor next door. And I think by relating well to people, I think that's my secret sauce. When people actually meet me in person and form their opinion on their own. I just left a meeting of about 50 people, and you know, it's sad what the liberal media tries to do to conservatives. But one of the things that I think that will help me in a statewide race is that once people get to meet me, they get to know me. They know I'm relatable. I'm real. I have a broad band of experience, both in the private sector, the public sector, the legislature, and just simply in real life.
Okay, thank you. And Kurt.
So all of these answers are great answers, and we need all of them in one person. And outside of being rich, that's me. I've been at the bottom. I've worked my way to the top. I've been so far at the bottom that I was homeless, living in the street. Okay. Not because I didn't want a job, but because the only job that was available in the liberal city I lived in at the time was at Labor Ready, where you go in at 5:30 in the morning and you hope your number gets called for whatever crap job they have to give you, and they pay you at the end of the day. You know, usually was not even enough to get a motel room. It was enough to eat on, maybe. So look, I've lived all over this country, and I have a connection to the people because of that. I have an understanding of the different cultures that are moving in on Northern Virginia, and I understand their cultures. Don't necessarily agree with some of their cultural ideals, but because I have that understanding, we're able to have a conversation and come to a solution, come to a compromise, come to a reality of, well, this is what you want, this is what you can get, and this is the probable outcome of it. Well, does that work for you? It works for me. Great. We found a solution. It's not, look, my superpower is communication. No, speaking at a screen, talking at a candidate forum, I'm probably not that great at communicating. But through conversation and dialogue, I'm excellent. And that is what we need in a candidate. Somebody is going to have the conversation and the dialogue with the people. And you can't do that if you don't have an understanding for the culture. If we go into Northern Virginia with 2A pro-life constitutionalist, we're going to lose. You have to go into Northern Virginia. How do you protect yourself? That's 2A. Well, how do you get your voice out? That's 1A. How do you stop from your rights being infringed on, like your Fourth Amendment? Well, that's Constitution, right? But when they're saying racist, we're saying unconstitutional. When they're saying oppressive, we're saying unconstitutional. A lot of these words aren't coming across to your normal candidates because they're disconnected from the culture of the people that they're talking to. And I have a really superpower, I guess you could call it, that allows me to switch from one culture to another almost immediately. You want to talk about boats, cars, guns, constitution, law? You want to talk about farming? You want to talk about being a janitor? You want to talk about being in the military? That's how I connect. That's my superpower. Thank you.
Awesome, great. Our second question is going to start off with Sergio. We all come at situations with a slightly different understanding or perception of the seriousness of any set of problems. So please tell me what you think is the single, it's very difficult to keep candidates on a single anything, okay? But the single most pressing issue facing Virginia, and what would you do to address this issue if you win in November? What would you do regarding that single issue? You're muted.
So it's an interesting question to bring up since I've already brought it up, but let me elaborate on that. So the single greatest issue is voter integrity, election integrity. That's going to be the biggest challenge that we face. And the challenge can only be faced if we acknowledge the magnitude of the problem. The current legislation that's been passed during COVID is deplorable. It's in the true sense of deplorable. It has given the other side a distinct advantage. And it began with Terry McAuliffe allowing felons to vote and then adding additional stipulations that gave them the upper hand and how you can expand the voting day to a voting season. And the only way that we're going to be able to confront this problem is by making sure that we get as many people as we can to take classes and to become voter officials. Voter officials are not going to be thrown out as easily. And we also need to be thinking in a more strategic way of where do we put these people? Obviously, one of those key areas is going to be Northern Virginia. The other one is also going to be the Hampton Roads and obviously Richmond, because that's where we have the greatest concentration of voters. And we need to make sure that those places that typically get Democrats to be voter officials have a counterpart who's a Republican. So these changing laws are going to be critical to understanding the lay of the land. So we need to understand exactly what it is that we're facing. And we've got to get people trained, and we've got to make sure that those people understand that this is a voting season, which means that they're going to have to be there a lot longer than they normally would be. So we need to ensure that whoever it is that we put into these positions are there for the entire time. That's a tremendous strain on somebody's time, but it's going to happen because we're at a grave disadvantage. And if we don't confront that, we're not going to be doing very well as we go into the 2nd of November. I think it's very important that we not only have the officials, but we also have the observers, and we have a full court press on those people that are out there. We also need to make sure we encourage more people to run that so that we don't give away slots that are going to be uncontested, because we need to make sure that the Democrats are strained across the board, because I think between now and November, we're going to see all of the disastrous policies produce results that are going to be obvious. Look at what's happening with immigration. Look at what's happening with the way that they're changing the laws across the country based on the successes they've had in the Commonwealth, because as I've said, this has become the test bed of bad ideas for the national level. So we need to make sure we understand that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergio. And Amanda.
I agree with Sergio. I believe that election integrity is the number one issue, but guess what? We can't wait till November. We've got to address it as soon as we finish this convention. It's the number one thing that I'm going to be continuing to work on. You know, I reintroduced legislation here in Virginia to try to put the guardrails back on our elections. Introduced a bill to re-add identification for voter ID. I won't go into all the legislation, but just, you know, we've got to return to having witness signatures, those types of things. I think we need to purge our voter rolls between now and November. And, you know, I'm trying to figure out, you know, how do we do that? I mean, I've been working with the Virginia Project, and, you know, they're going through and exposing some of the voter fraud that's out there. But you have a state board of elections who just did a bogus audit. It's a complete sham. In Amelia County, they pulled one vote and called that an audit. They pulled 2 votes out of Northumberland County and called that an audit. That's called BS. We have got to do something between now and November. And I hope all of us can work together to make that happen. And we're going to have to get some attorneys. We're going to have to go through the Department of Justice between now and November. And I don't know, to create this confidence and voter confidence, we're going to have to figure out a way to get rid of those Dominion voting machines. No one has confidence in those. And I think voters who see those machines are going to freak out, to be quite honest with you. So we have our work cut out for us. It's our number one issue, but we can't wait until we're elected in office. If we don't do something between now and November, none of us are going to get elected.
All right, thank you. And I guess Kurt.
So the number one issue we're having in the state right now, that's the question, correct?
Yes, the number one issue facing us, the single most important one, and how you would deal with it as the governor.
So I'm going to disagree with every candidate that spoke so far. I think the number one issue right now in Virginia and across America is division. Now you can put that into 2 words. You can call it division and trust, because there is a huge lack of trust, whether it is in our immigration policy, in our election integrity, it doesn't matter. But division is the number one problem we have in the state of Virginia right now. The way to fix it, term limits. A big part of the division is caused by these career politicians going, Republicans say this, Democrats say that. This is true, this is false, this is half true, this is half false. We need to attack the confusion that everyday American people, that everyday Virginians are having because of all the different misinformation. We need to go after the misinformation. We need a solid, trustworthy communication line between our leadership and the people. And in order for that communication line to be there, it's going to have to be transparent. Because if there's no transparency, you're not going to trust what's coming out of that person's mouth. There's always going to be a level of distrust. Is that real? Is he really doing what he says he's going to do? Did that toilet really cost $10 million? Was that hammer really $50,000? So division and trust. That is our number one problem. And the only way to fix it is to enact term limits and start attacking the symptoms of the division. Term limits is the cause of the division. Career politicians are the cause of the division. Democrats saying, push back, get in their face. Trump people are getting ran over, shot. Where has that got us? We're just more divided. Nothing's being fixed. There's no communication. Why is there no communication? Because we're divided. Families are not even talking to each other. My own sister will not talk to my mom and dad. Will not. Unfriended them on Facebook. Don't accept, literally takes their mail and throws it away. That division is the number one problem. Until we start attacking the division, you're never going to get election integrity taken care of if people don't trust what's happening. And people don't trust what's happening because we're divided. Thank you.
Go ahead, Merle.
It seems like it's all talk. Let's get our head back in the game. The number one problem right now is Democrat supremacy. That's what it is. Only thing that they want is for us to be divided, make up silly arguments talking about how America's so far apart. Honestly, America is more together than ever because of Democrats. Why? Because we're being starved or going broke or our businesses is getting shut down. The number one problem we always have at this time period is people voting for the wrong person. That's just the way it is. See, that's why you don't send in the bench warmers to come to starters when it comes down to our general election. The fact is, we need to find a way to win. We got to beat them at their own game. The only thing you consistently keep hearing is talking about after we get elected. Well, sorry, we had 3 decades of finding out what losing looks like. And we can't wait after we get elected because we are losing elections. So all these promises and all these gimmicks that anybody else is bringing up is only to sympathize with what they think is a base that has been lost. No, everybody's going through the same problems because of Democrats. Our gas prices is up. Our grocery stores is higher in price. Our rent is going sky high. Evictions going on, opiate addictions, people going through suicides. Trust me, we are all more together than ever before. The fact is we need to start realizing and stop making excuses and start winning elections. Thank you.
I don't think that's allowed, Kurt. Okay. All right. The third question, and we're going to start with Amanda. And I know where you were going, Merle. What I'm talking about is once you're in office, okay? Once you're in office, how will you address the COVID-19 situation? So once you're in office, how do you address the situation, Amanda? The COVID-19 situation. I think we may have lost Amanda.
I'm sorry, I'm in transition.
Yeah,
What was the
okay. All
question?
right. The COVID-19 situation, when elected, how are you going to handle the everything that has happened regarding COVID-19?
So I would educate, not mandate. I would not have the executive orders. I would completely eliminate all executive orders, reopen our schools, reopen Virginia. Um, by eliminating the executive orders, you're getting rid of the weaponization of the Virginia Department of Health, weaponizing our businesses to enforce these terrible mask mandates. That should be a personal individual choice. It shouldn't be mandated by a government. I've introduced 2 bills that would prohibit businesses from discriminating against people who choose not to get the vaccine. Are we going to get to a point in time that this vaccine there has to be some type of documentation or certification that you've gotten a vaccine to board a plane? I don't think so. In fact, I introduced legislation to prohibit that. Unfortunately, under the Democratic trifecta that we have in the General Assembly, the bill was passed by for the year. And I think that's unfortunate, because I think what's going to happen under the current administration, if we continue under Democratic leadership, we're going to be discriminated against financially. We're going to lose jobs if we don't do as the government tells us to do. It should never be that way. And under a Chase administration, it will not be that way. We'll continue. We never would have closed down our schools. We never would have closed down our businesses. We would have educated people about the dangers, full information that we have, including hydroxychloroquine, vitamin D, other opportunities that we have, remdesivir, and some of the other known drugs to treat COVID-19 that the left has weaponized and uses propaganda to say this doesn't work. I think my scientists will take their scientist any day. So anyway, that's what I would do as Virginia's next governor, and look forward to hearing the other responses.
Great, thank you. And it is Kurt.
So part of the problem we're having with COVID-19 is division. We're divided over, is it real? Is it not real? Is the vaccine going to hurt us? Is the vaccine safe, right? Division, again, is the key issue here. We're divided over everything, every issue, every little something that can be brought up to pull a little bit more voters this way or that way, rather than actually try to do right by the people. But with COVID, like Manny Chase said, educate. Okay, that's important. But you can't just educate with just facts. You have to put understanding to those facts in a way regular people can comprehend. Okay, these doctors, scientists like Fauci putting out these statements saying this is so bad, we shouldn't, right? But I would like that statement right next to getting in my truck and driving 40 miles to work. Okay, because the severity of COVID versus the severity of the risk of COVID versus the risk of driving to work is probably about the same, right? That's what the numbers are telling us. But you have scientists saying this is so bad, but they're not putting it into a context that let people know how bad it is or it isn't, right? They're blowing it completely out of proportion. So we need to get the right facts out there, not mumbled, jumbled, twisted around, made to fit a narrative, but made to fit for the people to understand across the board, right? What's the risk of you getting a car wreck by driving to the store? Let's throw some numbers out there, say it's 10%. Well, you have a 10% chance of COVID. Well, you have a 10% chance of slipping while you're at the store. We have a 10% chance of slipping while you're in the shower. If you narrate that into something that sounds really bad, you're going to stop taking showers. You're going to stop driving your car because you're scared, right? And that's what they've done with people. They've scared them over COVID. So we most certainly need to open up everything. We most certainly need to get our kids back in school, our businesses back open. But most importantly, we have to come up with a plan to help the people that have been shut down over this past year recuperate. This stimulus money is not going to help the people that have not been paying their water bill, have not been paying their light bill under the moratorium that the governor signed. When that moratorium's over, they're going to have a $5,000 light bill. It's going to be shut off. They're never going to get caught up with that. They're going to have a $1,200 water bill. It's going to get shut off. They're never going to be able to get caught up with that, because you're talking about people that literally live paycheck to paycheck. They're scrounging in the change drawer to get gas money to get to work the day before they get paid. Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. Merle, go ahead.
I keep repeating myself most of the time, Frank. I would have never shut down Virginia at all. We would have been just like South Dakota. I can't keep repeating it. If you want to wear a mask, I'll tell people feel free, but you're not going to be mandated or forced to wear a mask. Our schools will still be open. Our businesses that have been shut down will be open right now and continuing to get the extra revenue and the extra jobs out there for people who have moved from their states from these tyrannical lockdowns. And it's kind of weird that people say that they was against the shutdown. No, Amanda Chase was all for the shutdown and praising Northam actions from the beginning. Even so good that she was wearing a mask to a hair salon during that time frame in support of Governor Northam's shutdown. She was never for it from the beginning because she gave out a nice story about how somebody got COVID. We have to start looking at the fact we got to stop being cowards and stop falling for the politicians' biscuit and gravy meal. The fact is we need strong leadership that doesn't flip-flop. We can't just say it enough. Virginia would not be shut down with Merle Rutledge. And the fact is, people are giving incentives to migrants right now to come into this country for even in-school tuition. And we are already having problems even feeding our own kids here in America based off of these shutdowns. Governor Northam gave all these mandates out and never told people how they are going to survive. You know why? He wanted socialism. And it seems like everybody was on board about it until it became financially beneficial. So sorry, I feel sorry for the businesses, the renters and landlords getting the shaft because people voted against giving out relief until May 2021 during a so-called pandemic. The fact is, none of these businesses, renters or landlords would be having these problems had somebody stuck to their guns like Merle Rutledge and never shut down Virginia. South Dakota doing fine, Florida doing fine. There was no reason at all. If people was paying attention like they claim, not being politicians and trying to see it for political benefit, they would have known this was the wrong call from the beginning. It shouldn't have taken you that long. And that's why I feel so sad about what's going on here in Virginia, because they are facing the problems that these politicians created, and Merle Rutledge is not going to have it. Continue. Thank you.
Amanda, Merle named you in that, so you've got 2 minutes if you want to respond to his comments.
Okay, Merle, at least I don't need a breathalyzer test before I do a Facebook post. At least I don't have my wife saying that I'm unfit for office. I wore that mask that day out of a courtesy to my hairdresser, and I didn't know that I would have a medical reaction to that. If you want to go there, we'll go. Bring it.
Okay. All right. So that is Sergio. Yeah, Merle. No, she gets to respond to yours, but I mean, she clearly she'd get to name you in the response. So Sergio, I'll just reiterate: if you win the election in November, as the governor, how will you address the COVID-19 situation going forward?
So how would I address that COVID-19 situation? Well, the first thing you got to do is we now have sufficient information to, as others have said, open up Virginia, open up the economy, open up the schools, stop putting limitations on churches, stop the mask mandate should go away. People should be free to wear a mask or not wear a mask. Businesses should be willing to say, look, if you're going to come into my store, wear a mask. And then it's up to the customers to decide that. We know that it doesn't have much of an effect on children. That's already been proven. We need to get the teachers back into schools. Teachers want to teach, students want to learn. The unions stand in the way. So we need to make sure that we let the unions know that that's not the way it's going to work. And what we need to do is we need to build our wealth back. And wealth is a product of creativity, of human creativity in a free environment, which means that we just need to let people do the things that they do well. We have a very creative American people, and Virginians are at the top of that list. We have some of the most capable, brilliant people in this Commonwealth. We need to unleash their creativity. We need to reduce regulations. We need to get the economy back up and running. If you look at what President Trump did when he allowed regulations to wither away, or he got rid of them, you saw productivity go through the roof. Lowest unemployment rates, especially with minorities, in history. More real salary growth that we've ever had. Lower fuel prices, lower energy prices. Now, a lot of that included a lot of other things, but we can open up Virginia just the way that President Trump opened up the country. It's not that difficult. We just need to be able to unleash the power of the American people, and Virginians are hardworking, wonderful people that can make it happen. We need to make sure that those that desire the vaccine can get it. I know plenty of people that can set up distribution systems that can address all of their concerns. And by now we'd have probably half of the people vaccinated. It's not that difficult to make that happen. But we don't need to make sure, we do not need to force people to take something they don't want. I believe in medical freedom. We need to be able to allow human creativity in an environment of freedom to thrive. We can do this. And we've seen that it's not that difficult. And the success is that we go back to our founding roots, which are the free market, free enterprise, creative thought, not encumbered by a bunch of silly regulations and things that are just going to hamper our economic growth. This can happen, and we should do this now. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, so we're back at the top of the rotation again. For question number 4, we'll start off with Kurt. It is the belief of many of our members that the Constitution, our inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, not a guarantee of happiness, but a pursuit of happiness, are being threatened by the existing state leadership. Many of them in the leadership. What do you feel is the single most threatened right we have, and what would you do to protect it in your position if elected?
You know, that's a tough one, because you want to first come out and you want to say the Second Amendment is the most important and the most threatened at the current time. Then you look at the First Amendment, how that's being infringed on, how it has been infringed on, not just in the past year or two, but over the past 30 decades, or 30 decades, 30 years. I don't think it can be just one. It can't. Because if one goes away, if one is infringed on, gives precedent for the next one to be infringed on, for any of them to be infringed on. So they're all equally important for a reason. You served in the military, sir, and those who have served in the military, I'm going to break this down for you. As a soldier, when you join the military, you are a soldier first. No matter what job they give you in the military, you must qualify with your rifle. You don't join the military and go, here's a box cutter, your job is to cut up boxes. And then what? They're going to pull you and put you on the front line and you have no training. None. No. Every job is important. There's no one job more important than another in the military. Just like there is not any one constitutional right that is more important than another. They're all equally important. Without one, the rest fall. If you don't have your comms guy giving you radio, you don't have communication. your frontline soldiers don't have communication. They can't fight. They can't communicate. They can't shoot, move, and communicate. There's not one that's just important. I cannot stress that enough. They're all equally important, and they're all equally being infringed upon. That's the reality of where we're at right now. That's the reality of where we have been at for decades. And it's going to take people like me, like other candidates out there, to stand up and say, this is wrong. Just because you created a law and enough people approved this law doesn't mean that this law is constitutional. We need to start removing all unconstitutional laws. And that's not going to happen until you remove the division that we have in our legislative system. And again, takes me back to my platform of term limits. Thank you.
Go ahead, Merle.
Well, number one, I've never been for term limits. I'm all for term limits completely. And obviously, a politician is the reason why. When you've been so far away from your district for so long, you don't even recognize it to the point where it was full red, it turns full blue. We have problems here. After a while, you need to start looking at a new head coach and start saying to yourself, if that other head coach can win. No, they showed you losing record after losing record, but they could show you, I started a job making maybe $1,000, $2,000 a month for that job, but now all of a sudden I'm almost a millionaire. But when it comes down to passing bills and more, none of it is showing. It's nothing showing for all that money coming in. All it has became is a slush fund for politicians or for people to get rich instead of for fighting for our rights. Now, to respond back, since I got plenty of time, that I'm all for term limits, tell Amanda Chase I should deserve that. Amanda Chase did a video on Facebook with Marxists promoting them with our flags half down while armed. If I have a firearm, I'm going to plan to make sure I use it at the time frame I need to, not be intimidated or led to do things a certain way. Also, Amanda Chase lied on 5 different police agencies while also claiming the Capitol Police was brutal murderers. I guess she backs the police. My wife isn't saying any inappropriate conversations or having them with a 19-year-old Mike Dunn who had fire teams supposedly and bragging about it online inside the U.S. Capitol while it was being attacked. I never called rape victims naive. That was Amanda Chase. I never threatened to sue any of my supporters or critics with Governor Northam's anti-1A law, which you did, Amanda Chase. But I guess you'll say somebody needs a breathalyzer for that one. But guess what? I went ahead and done that. Also, at the same time frame, the Republican Party isn't the white people's party or history like you claim. I'm a Republican, and will always represent the America that we all know and we all grew up in, with everybody included. That's been one of the major problems that we have been having. People want to talk about who's drunk or who's sober or what people do or try to be Mr. or Mrs. Perfect. That's been the problem. They need to see a real American from ground zero that believes in everything that they say and doesn't have somebody showing us the paperwork or the receipts showing we don't back anything that we even say. That's been the problem. We've been looking for somebody to tell it like it is. And our last president to do it the way it should have been done without people using his name has been President Donald J. Trump. So when it comes down to people talking about, hey, this and that and all that, sometimes that's smoke and mirrors to cover up on the real serious situation that we really have. Term limits and politicians that need to know when it's their time to go. And don't bring up the front runner stuff either, because Justin Fairfax is outraising you, and he's last place on the Democratic side. Right now, if people want to talk about big money,
you're over time, Merle. You're over time.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Amanda, you've got 2 minutes. Respond to that.
First of all, I think anybody running for governor should have a criminal background check. I think that should be mandatory. What I will respond and say is that whenever we don't support our law enforcement, as Governor the current governor has not done, as Mayor Stoney has not done, it necessitates the need to arm up, which I did when I was called to participate in a Second Amendment rally. I was told it was too dangerous to come, but I went anyway. And I had an AR-15 strapped onto my chest along with my security team. And we met with other 2A supporters, black, white, you name it. Some of them were armed BLM. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. And I didn't see anybody on this call there. It was me and those folks there. Nobody was there but Amanda Chase. You know, I've been in the battle for over a decade, and I haven't seen many of the people on this phone call. So, you know, you can say what you want, Merle, but I actually stood face to face with armed BLM and had a good conversation with them. And we found 4 things that we could agree on. Number 1, we support the Second Amendment. Number two, we don't believe in third trimester abortions. We think that's wrong. We also believe that Governor Northam needed to go. And finally, I would say that we also agree that the press is trying to divide us. You know, we are Republicans and we should be on the same team. And so if you have a question about why I'm doing something or why I did it, but you know, before you start throwing stones, just understand that you know, we do criminal background checks and a lot of opposition research, and I think we should keep that out of this conversation today. But if you want to talk about things that you haven't proof of, you know, I could talk about some things that happened with some circuit court dismissed cases that occurred back in November of 2003. And we could just keep going if you wanted to do that. But I don't want to go there with you because I want you to, you know, I'm a candidate coach. I like to train
Amanda,
people how to be better.
that-
And let me just finish this up.
I'll let
I'm
you
a
finish that
candidate
thought. Go ahead.
coach, and I want to help people to be better, and I don't want to tear people down. And I think we need to cut that out, because if you do that, it only hurts us and divides us. And I'm not going to respond to any of your other comments.
All right, Sergio, the question, do you need me to reread it or you got it?
Let me make sure I got it. You're asking what's the most important right that we have to defend. We're not looking at we're looking at opportunity instead of giving something out. So based on that, you know, what's the most important thing? Is that correct?
Yes, the number one right you feel is being threatened, and you know, what would you do to protect it in your new position?
Correct. So the most important right is the right of private property, because from that democracy stems. If you look at our history, the reason people came to this continent is because in Europe they didn't have private property. In Europe they had nothing. They were serfs, and they came here in pursuit of private property. And if you look at the history of both Jamestown and the colony up in Plymouth Rock, you had the issue of experiments that started out by practicing socialistic ideas that didn't work. They were a disaster. When people were able to produce their own goods and their own, and they had their own property, things changed significantly, because then they had the ability to help the others. It's kind of like having that mask in the plane, where first you put your mask on and then you can help others. And so from that private property concept, you can look at a gun or a firearm as something that you own. And so if they infringe upon that right, you can never have the Second Amendment, because you won't have that private property to be able to afford that opportunity for citizens to have a Second Amendment. And then from that Second Amendment, obviously, you have a way to confront a tyrannical government, and that tyrannical government can impinge upon your First Amendment rights, which are enshrined in our Constitution. It's a wonderful document, and I don't want to downplay the rest of the rights. It's just that if we're looking at one in specific, I would say it's the private property issue, because from that, you have free enterprise. From that, you can have that human creativity in an environment of freedom that allows you to create even greater wealth. But it starts with that. And so we have to defend that, because if you look at socialist governments, what they try to do is give you stuff, because if they give you stuff, they can take away stuff. And so we have to guard very closely that we do not become dependent on government, because once we do, whatever the government giveth, the government can taketh away. And that's exactly the situation that we've been put in, and we are being put in front of now. If you look at what's happening at the national level, where you just passed a $1.9 trillion budget, and that who's going to pay for that? Where's that coming from? That's coming out of the pocket of it used to be our children and grandchildren. Now it's our grandchildren and great-grandchildren. It's going to keep on getting worse and worse and worse. And then what happens when we can't pay it? Things are going to get taken away from us. Once the government has that ability to control property, as much as it can give it, it's going to take it away. And that's why I think that that is absolutely essential. So the most important right to me is the right to private property. Thank you.
Very good. Okay. And Amanda, it's your question.
And if you could repeat the question, please.
Sure. It is believed by many of our members that the Constitution, our inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are being threatened by the existing state government, many of them anyway. What do you feel is the single most threatened right we have, and what would you do to protect it in your position if elected?
Well, I was initially going to say the Equal Protection Clause, which is part of the first section of the 14th Amendment. But I think I'm going to go with the Second Amendment, and I'm going to tell you why. Because without the Second Amendment, which is the foundation of every other freedom we have, you cannot enforce any of the other ones. We have to have the Second Amendment. If they take away our guns, how do we defend our religious freedoms, our First Amendment, or any of the other freedoms? The reason the Founding Fathers put the Second Amendment in our Constitution is so that we could protect ourselves against tyrants, both foreign and domestic. So I'm going to stick with the Second Amendment, and it's the only way that you can enforce any of our other securities. Once they take their guns, they can do anything they want to you.
Okay, great. All right, so the last big question before the lightning round. You all talked about your secret power, your superpower, right? We talked about there's passion, there's business expertise, there's political experience, being a fighter, an outreach capability in Nova, being female, suburban women voters. I mean, clearly that is a demographic that we have to have. So I guess my question to you is this, and I know that this will be a difficult one for some, maybe, I don't know. I'm going to find out. Are you willing to turn on your secret power or your superpower for these other candidates, regardless of who they are, so that they can be victorious in November if you are not the nominee? Because we cannot win unless we have like a superpower team. So are you willing to do that? And I think that question starts off with Merle, actually.
Yes, I would definitely do everything in my power to give out my superpower to any candidate that is running as a Republican, saying that they're independent or anything else, so forth. The whole point is I want to make sure candidates that are nominated are able to win by any means necessary. The Democrats are a monster right now, and they are going to be savage, and they are not going to take it easy on nobody. So people are going to need my type of attitude and way of handling business in order to get the job done against all of the rest of the Democratic plan. And it's going to take somebody to give out the backbone, spine, and the attitude to make sure we win in November. And right now, I'm hoping that the candidates are ready to win and not just looking for a nomination. And I hope that they bring that same effort 100% to make sure Republicans win back the governor's mansion and we fix this mess that Northam has made for us all. So yes, I will help out all the candidates, no matter who wins the nomination, because anything's better than a Democrat that continues to kill babies, kill jobs, and kill our livelihoods. And what people need to see, that a Republican is planning on bringing that back, and only a strong conservative could get the job done. Thank you.
Sergio.
The answer is yes. I will do whatever in my power I can to support whoever wins. We have an alternative that we cannot face. If the Democrats win, we're going to be in a very, very bad place. You know, we talked about voter integrity or election integrity, and the seeds have already been planted. In 2022, if we do not regain the power in Richmond, or at least the governorship, you're going to see same-day voting, same-day registration, and very lax ID laws that are going to be just totally detrimental to what the Commonwealth is all about, and what we're going to have is one-party rule in Virginia into perpetuity. So I will do everything I can to help whoever wins. Thank you.
Amanda.
So I have actually been working for all of our candidates since 2008 when I heard the name Barack Obama. At that particular point, I wasn't even a candidate for anything. I worked in the trenches to help get our Republicans elected, and I've been doing that for candidates for over a decade. There's nothing new that will happen after, November. I've always said I would support our nomination. The key is I want to make sure it is a fair, not rigged election. Friends, I just found out tonight that the political director at the Republican Party of Virginia, who has a list of all of our candidates and our contact information, that they have a list of our campaign contact information, and that my name was actually left off of that list. We have people in the Republican Party who don't like firebrand Republicans. And, Merle, you talk about how sometimes you're, not invited to things. I'm that too, because I'm a firebrand Republican. And so I want to make sure there's a fair election where everyone has equal access to all the GOP meetings, that we're not, excuse the term, but blackballed from some of these meetings just because some members like us and others don't. And yet that's happened to me tonight. So that's a little bit frustrating. We don't like the rigged election that occurred this past year with President Trump's election in 2020. I don't like rigged conventions. And that's exactly what the Republican Party State Central Committee has done. They have chosen, it's already being rigged. You have to know that. Of the 1.9 million voters that voted for President Trump this year, there is not a process in place that will viably allow all of those voters to participate in our convention. And that's unfortunate. So we've already got voter suppression. I was the deciding vote in the Senate to make sure that we outlawed that practice beginning in 2024. I think it's wrong to deny we the people the opportunity to go to their local polling location and cast a vote for their nominee. So in a fair election, one in which every person on this phone call is equally invited to all the GOP meetings, isn't left off list, and it's fair and it's transparent, I will fully support whoever the Republican nominee is. If it's not fair, and if there's cheating and people are left off list, all options are on the table.
All right, very good. Kurt.
So yeah, I absolutely want to support whatever candidates, plural candidates.
I'm sorry, Kurt. I forgot. Merle, I'm sorry to interrupt. Merle, you were mentioned by Amanda. You've got a 2-minute response to what she said. Sorry about that.
Well, I'm going to say it like this. People could cry, make excuses, all that they want to. Fact of the matter is, we need to make sure we win. Now, I am concerned about what she said, that all options is on the table, that she doesn't win because she feels that it's not fair. Life is not fair. You find a way to win. But I do understand her concerns, no doubt about it. But I think we are in the wrong direction to get into a nuclear option that we leave people unsure where they need certainty. They need the security to know, are you going to back the Republican nominee? Not any kind of guessing games anymore. We got too much on the line right now. We got everybody in Virginia dependent on Republicans to win. They're waking up every time they go to the gas pump They're waking up every single time frame they find out family member is needing some money or needing to borrow something just to survive. It's too much on the line. The gun rights. We are arguing over ammunition. We shouldn't even be in this position. We should already have our guns and talk about which one we want to choose. Got too much on the line, people. We cannot afford to lose, and we can't afford any rhino tactics or anybody trying to put a nice little threat over everybody's head if they don't win for any kind of reason. You either find a way to win or you're in the wrong party, because Republicans back Republicans. We don't back rhinos.
Can I have 2 minutes to respond, please?
No, Amanda, I didn't give him it's his response to your comments. And so I can't give you, again, comments back to his, otherwise we would just go in a circle the whole time. So, Kurt, you've got 3 minutes.
Yeah, the question is, will I support the candidates if I'm not nominated? Of course I will.
No, specifically, will you turn on your superpower to support?
Now, there's a trick to that, okay? So there's a trick to that. I can turn on my superpower and I can talk to the people all day long. But if the guy that got nominated or lady that got nominated doesn't listen to me and communicate through me to the people, it ain't going to help them none, right? However, it's not just about the governor candidate or the attorney general candidate or even the lieutenant governor. We need all three of those for sure, but we still have what? 12, 15 seats that are not being ran for. We have no Republicans running for in the House of Delegates right now. Like, we've got to put our efforts there as well. I'm not just helping myself in my own candidacy. I'm helping the delegates that are running. Pena went to an event with me where we were supporting Hamilton. First guy to run in over a decade and a half as a delegate in his district, 57, I think. I'm going to Halifax. Somebody's running for the Board of Supervisors. I'm going to help them down there with that. It's not just about the governor, the lieutenant governor, the attorney general. Those are very important. It's about the big picture. It's about getting everyone involved. How many of these meetings I go to and you've got 20, 30 people at a Republican committee meeting? 20 or 30 people. In an area where you've got 6,000 Republican votes, you've only got 20 or 30 people showing up to the meetings. And when they're doing the roll call, they're only missing like 10 or 20 people that aren't there for the roll call, which tells me that these committees have 40, 50 people in them, but you've got 6,000 people voting Republican consistently in an area. It's not just about supporting the candidate. It's about supporting the committees, and getting people to the committees, getting people involved in the Republican Party. You're not going to win just by going, I'm the best person for the job. You're going to win by going, we're all the best person for the job. We all need to help each other out. This guy's going to listen. This girl's going to listen. She's going to teach. He's going to teach. And along the way, we're going to pick up a few new people. And in doing so, we're going to take back our country, not just our state, but our country. Thank you.
Very good. I agree with a lot of that. And I would also say join Chasing Freedom Virginia too.
Oh yeah, cool.
But okay, so let's jump into the lightning round. We've got exactly about the right time left. We're probably going to have to make a little bit shorter closing statements. These lightning rounds, very quick answer. Let's see, where are we at? I think we're starting off with Sergio.
10 seconds, right?
Yeah, just like 10 seconds, Chris. Just give them a flash 0 when they're ready. And actually, it's just one question because that was supposed to be lightning round. Who's your hero, Sergio? Who inspired you to do what you've done throughout your life?
George Washington. He was the indispensable man. He created this American dream, and if it wasn't for George, none of this would exist.
Okay, and Amanda?
My husband. Without my husband, He's shown me unconditional love and been the backbone to. I've been with him since I was 15 years old, and he has been led me to the Lord and really been the foundation of our family, and it's just a steady force that allows me to do what I can do and to fight for all the people and not just our family. So my husband has been my biggest inspiration and my hero.
Excellent. Okay. And Kurt.
I can't answer this in 10 seconds.
I'll
Melinda,
give you I got 11 seconds. Go.
Melinda Torres, Jenny Captain, Brenda Morrison, Thomas Vos, Grandma Vos, Grandpa Vos. Look, I grew up in a really horrible childhood. My parents were drug addicts until I was a teenager. I moved out when I was 15. So there were a handful of people throughout my childhood that were the lightness in my dark. They brought me God. They brought me wisdom. They kept me from going down the path that put me in jail, made me dead on the streets or an alcoholic. So there's a lot of people out there. Thank you.
All right. That was about 11 seconds. Go ahead, Merle. Who's your hero?
I give the praise. I don't give no other politician or anybody else anything else. Only God put me in this race, and I thank him completely for everything that he continues to and provide instead of being judgmental like others. Thank you.
All right, very good. Let's do a quick closeout. I don't want to keep you any later than I already have. We'll do 2 minutes. We'll start with Amanda. Make sure you hit your website. If you haven't already done the questionnaire, if you do the questionnaire, I'm going to publish your website for you and be pushing it out. But most of you guys, I think, have. So 2 minutes, closing statements. Make sure you hit your website and your contact information. Go ahead, Amanda. You're muted. Okay, hopefully she's going to come back. She might be really busy right now, so we'll jump on to Kurt. Go ahead. 2 minutes.
I've experienced a lot of things in my life. Heartbreak, sadness, betrayal, torture, to the most literal sense. It's not easy picking one hero or even God for that matter. We've got to learn to start communicating with each other, getting past the cultural divide of you were born on South Side and you were born on North Side, so you're automatically enemies. You know, you have division within Division 8 football. It's just in our nature as human beings to be divided, you know, Chevy versus Ford. But we need to cut back on that division and start focusing on commonalities, the things that we have in common, the things that we agree on, the things that are going to bring us closer together as a community, a state, and even a family in some cases. I don't have my timer going this time around, so you're going to have to stop me at the mark. 1 minute.
Yeah, 1 minute.
You know, a lot of what I hear on the street from regular everyday people, and when I say the street, I'm talking about the gas pumps, the gas station attendants, the restaurant employees, the bussers, the dishwashers, the construction workers, the tire changers, the auto mechanics. They're all saying the same thing. Their rights are being violated, and they want somebody to stand up for that. And it doesn't matter if you're a protester on the Democratic side or on the Republican side. You're saying the same thing. Our rights are being violated. We need to fix it. That's why I'm running. I see a problem. I see a solution.
You're out of time, Kurt.
We got it. Santini48.com.
Merle, 2 minutes.
Listen, everybody, aren't you tired of being judged or somebody trying to say you need to be perfect or they feel like they can hold something over your head? Honestly, you're tired of hearing people make excuses, cry, and whine about exactly the direction that this country is going in. Now, more than ever, you need somebody who's a fighter, who knows how to get their hands dirty and know how to ruffle feathers, because guaranteed sending me to Richmond, going to see business is no longer usual, and definitely turning the tables up on the money changers who are increasing our taxes, taking our guns, telling us when we can go to church and when we can't. Look at all this crap, and people are worrying about why America is going in the wrong direction, because people are focusing on the wrong thing. It's the liberal media telling you that you're divided. It's the liberal media telling you that this hoax is going on. This is all the liberal media's plan to help out Democrats. So when somebody tells you you're a racist or you are this and that, you know who you are. You love America. You love everybody in it. The fact is, that's what the liberal media wants you to do. They want us to tear each other down. Instead of fight, they want us to live in fear. My job as being your next Virginia governor is to make sure I protect your rights and do exactly what I said I'm going to do. I know exactly how the government targets people. I know exactly what it feels like when people say that you can't and you can. The thing is, I'm making the impossible possible with my campaign because I ain't making excuses. I'm here to fight for every Virginian, and you can know that from my background. I didn't have it easy or have a go plate out there waiting for me. I did it the hard way, and we need more candidates doing it the hard way, not people who selling us out, sex trafficking, and allowing pedophiles to do campaign fundraisers like Amanda Chase. We need real people from ground zero. Stop listening to these politicians telling you who is best for the job. We need more of the mechanics, more of the librarians, more of the teachers running for office. We need more of regular Americans running for office, and we are all sick of the politicians. How they judge us. Thank you.
Thank you. And Amanda, Merle mentioned you again. You got 2 minutes to respond.
Listen, I'm just going to thank you, Tom, for having this debate tonight. You know, people can see clearly from the conversations that we've had on this phone call tonight. There's a lot of good conversation tonight, but at the end of the day, you know, I am leading in the polls for a reason. I've started early. I've already proven that I can win. I've won a state Senate race twice. And, it does take money to run campaigns. I haven't received a dollar of PAC money, not a dime of money from the lobbyists. I'm the people's governor, and I will represent all people, not just one particular group. I believe in equal rights, not special rights. I believe in the Constitution, and that even during a crisis, that the Constitution should be the plumb line of any other. We've gotten away from legislation. Usually you couldn't introduce legislation that if it was unconstitutional, but it's happening, and we have to work together instead of tearing each other down. We need to build each other up. We're all on the same team. We need to focus on what our strengths are and cover each other's weakness. We can't tear each other down. The Word of God says that a house divided will not stand. And so we need to focus on who is the best person for the job and, look at the experience and learn from each other. Listen, I support our vets. I just want to make a plug that, I have actually introduced legislation to exempt retirement benefits for our vets. I've done that. I've also passed and signed into law a bill that gives us an extra Veterans Health Care Center. If you want to talk about results matter, voting records matter. I have been in the business world. I've worked in the private sector, the public sector. I've been an experienced, effective legislator who knows how to get things done, who is not compromised. I'm not a politician. I stand up to the politicians. And
Amanda, that's the response time, but you've got another 2 minutes coming up after Sergio. Sergio, go ahead.
Thank you, Tom. In closing, I think this is the greatest country on the face of the earth. This is where the American dream began. This is what it's all about. This is a country that we must protect and we must defend. And the Commonwealth is where it all began. And the Commonwealth is at the core of everything that created the American dream. And that American dream is under attack, and we need to protect it. We need to make sure that our institutions stay strong. We need to make sure that our liberties stay strong. We need to go back to the fundamentals, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, and making sure that we become that bright city on the hill, that shining example for the rest of the world. I've been in 60 different countries. I've seen all these different systems at play, and this is by far the best. Why we would want to tear this down is beyond me, and this is the reason that I'm running. I am not a politician. This is this is a sum total of my political experiences this run. Other than the time I was the county commissioner at Boise State when I was a junior in high school. But I feel that I am the only candidate that can win in Northern Virginia. And to win this next election, we're going to have to get more votes from Northern Virginia. We need to go to those communities that have not been part of the Republican Party and bring them in, because they have the same concerns that we do. People of all colors, people of all creeds, all believe in strong families. They believe in meaningful work, and they believe in safe neighborhoods. And that's what we need to bring back. And that's what I can work with all of you to achieve. But the person that can get us there is me. I want to be your governor. I will be your governor. And it's because I have the broadest range of experience to be able to do that. So I ask you to go to sergiodelapena.com. That's sergiodelapena.com. I need delegates. I need assistance. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Thank you, Tom.
No problem, Sergio. Okay, and Amanda, you didn't get your initial 2 minutes. You were at the top of the stack, and we missed you. So you still got another 2 minutes if you want to take them.
Listen, I just want to say voting records matter. I have a voting record that I'm proud of. 100% rating on life, 100% rating on the Second Amendment, 100% rating on business. Voting records matter, friends. I've proven that I can win. You know, it's great that we say, you know, I think I'll appeal to Northern Virginia. I have actually won a race, and I just want to encourage folks, because I know only one person will move forward. Run for the House, run for the Senate. Prove that you can win your home district before you run for statewide office. Prove to the folks, and you will be a credible, more credible candidate that people can get behind statewide. So don't be discouraged. I think there are a lot of really great people on this phone call, and I'd love to serve as a coach to each and every one. I offer my services, but I understand how this convention process works. I understand it because I've been a part of it, and I know how to clean it up. Whether we're talking about elections, whether we're talking about conventions, I have been on the front lines as a soldier working for America and our conservative causes. Listen, this is socialism versus prosperity. We need to unite together against communism and against the socialist agenda that's trying to infiltrate our schools, the indoctrination, the infringement on our Constitution and our other rights. So I hope we will all unite together, and going forward with all other debates, keep it positive and focus on our strengths and not tear each other down. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, I want to say finally, thank you guys all for participating. Definitely a lively discussion, which is the way I like it. For those people who have weathered the storm and gone to the whole end of this, please donate to Chasing Freedom Virginia. We're going to help get these grassroots candidates' message out there. We're going to help mobilize people to become delegates in the convention. So please donate to Chasing Freedom Virginia. Become a member of Chasing Freedom, serve on a vetting board, and ultimately there's still some spots on our board of directors for the 16 coalitions. And don't forget, and especially to the candidates right now, don't forget, April 10th, Veterans Coalition Rally. It's going to be in Woodbridge. 24th of April, April 10th, 24 April, Faith, Family, and Life Coalition meeting at Family Foundation in Richmond, and that's a breakfast. And then and that'll be in the evening. That'll be followed by our meeting our membership meeting. And then finally, the 1st of May, a Second Amendment Coalition rally in Appomattox, Virginia. You're all invited, and we want to be the organization that's bringing all of the conservatives candidates together in statewide across the state. So please join us on those days. Thank you again, everyone, for the lively discussion and the substance of the conversation, because Virginia, really the country, needs leadership, and I think that you guys are all demonstrating that. And we need you. We need you to do that. So thank you all for what you're doing and the sacrifices you're making with your families to do this. And I look forward to seeing you guys in person on the 10th of April. All right, you guys have a good night.
Thank you, sir.
Drink lots of water. Drink lots of water.
You might want to see the bike. That's why I come out to the garage.
Thank you, Kurt. I appreciated that. That was I smoke cigars on mine, so I appreciated
You're just trying to make us jealous, Kurt, right?
So thank you guys.
Hey, if you want to work for the people, you got to have the tools. You got to have the garage. I'm ready to work.